Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group. Federal agencies are among those impacted by a global IT outage connected to CrowdStrike and Microsoft. And the White House announces nearly $100 million in pledges to boost the emerging tech workforce. It's Friday, July 19th, 2024. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. Here are today's top headlines. As the whole world has its eyes glued to the developing news of the Microsoft outage linked to the software firm CrowdStrike that's resulted in massive issues for businesses worldwide, FedScoop has discovered that at least a handful of federal agencies have been impacted. In a post on X, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and the Department of Homeland Security said they are working with CrowdStrike, Microsoft, and federal, state, local, and critical infrastructure partners to fully assess and address system outages. President Joe Biden has been briefed on the matter, and his team is in touch with CrowdStrike and impacted entities, a White House official told a poll reporter. The Social Security Administration, meanwhile, has closed all of its offices Friday because of a global IT outage, according to the agency's website. SSA said that individuals should expect longer call wait times for its national 800 number and that some online services are unavailable. The Justice Department was also affected and has alerted users, according to an emailed statement from a spokesperson who said the DOJ Office of the CIO is actively troubleshooting possible workarounds with component CIOs and technical teams, while CrowdStrike is attempting to resolve the problem. An agency manager within the Department of Homeland Security reported to FedScoop that some of their staff had trouble logging into desktop computers and had to spend the morning working on phones or through virtual desktops or web page applications. The Enterprise Service Desk at the Department of Veterans Affairs is also down, according to a person familiar with the matter, though it's not yet clear if it's related to the CrowdStrike flaw. The Federal Aviation Administration said it was closely monitoring a technical issue impacting IT systems at U.S. airlines. The agency later added that current FAA operations are not impacted by the global IT issue, but that it is monitoring the situation. The Energy Department's website was also offline Friday morning. Several attempts to visit the energy.gov domain resulted in a 503 error noting that a back-end fetch failed. The Energy Department did not respond to a request for comment at the time about whether the CrowdStrike issue is related to the outage. A Nuclear Regulatory Commission spokesperson told FedScoop in an email Friday that the agency is operating normally. Additionally, the spokesperson said that U.S. commercial nuclear facilities reported they are operating safely as well. This story is obviously developing, so make sure to keep an eye on fedscoop.com to make sure you're up to date with the latest news. In other news, the White House this week announced almost $100 million in commitments from government, academia, and civil society to support government access to a diverse pool of emerging tech talent. The Office of Science and Technology Policy said in its Tuesday announcement that the National Science Foundation, U.S. Digital Response, a handful of universities, and other institutions have pledged funding support for furthering artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies talent. The commitments were unveiled during an Advancing Public Service in the Technology Ecosystem event, where OSTP Director Arati Prabhakar reflected on the October executive order focused on AI, the Office of Management and Budget's memo, and the work that Congress has been doing to legislate to promote innovation and protect against the technology's harmful effects. Looking forward, Prabhakar said the government needs to figure out how to use AI and wrangle it in order to upskill, but also emphasized the need for fresh perspectives in the civic tech space. NSF will provide at least $48 million per a White House fact sheet on the commitments, with $32 million going toward an expansion of the agency's Emerging and Novel Technologies program aimed at supporting inclusive experiential learning opportunities for diverse learners. At least $16 million will support a second round of funding for the NSF's Responsible Design, Development, and Deployment of Technologies program, ensuring that ethical, legal, and societal considerations are implemented with technology development. Additionally, U.S. Digital Response has committed to doubling the number of state and local governments it supports, with a focus on those that are under-resourced. Academic institutions including San Jose State University, Spelman College, Georgetown University, the University of Michigan, and New York University have pledged material support, new centers, new scholar opportunities with provided tuition and other assistance, collaborations with justice organizations and local governments, and collaborations to support inter-institution growth in tech. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, visit fedscoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back next week with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.